All right, guys, welcome to a very special edition of the Left Side View with Rahul and Amitabh. So, this is our midweek European football matches review podcast. So, Amitabh, how's it going?
All good, Rahul, all good. So we had the European competition back this week, and let's start the review with Paris hosting Real Madrid. Again, as we had predicted in our preview episode, Benzema's injury was a very crucial factor as far as Madrid are concerned. Both the teams were circumspect; they did not want to lose the advantage in the first leg, but definitely Paris created more chances. Finally, and in the dying minutes of the match, they got the goal through Kylian Mbappe, who was head and shoulders above everybody else on the pitch. Um, I think PSG run Real Madrid ragged in the midfield as well. There was a brief period of possession in the 40th minute around, and then there was a brief period of possession in the 80th minute for Madrid. They were actually a step or two behind against PSG here. Again, Benzema, he was not moving freely. And a huge shout out to Hakimi, of all people. He actually had Vinicius Jr. in his pocket. So a slender advantage, um, but something that I think we both of us had predicted. Off to the second leg we go. Rahul?
Well, yes, I think, like you said, I think it's a great match in terms of the advantage for PSG. Having said that, it's just a one goal lead. So, yes, anything can happen. But, yes, like we had predicted, that PSG did start as slight favorites. Again, I think, like you said about Benzema, he was back from injury after a while. So yes, I think it will take him some time to get back to his best. Uh, Maybe we could see that he was not. Uh, he was still a little rusty, I guess. Yeah, but hopefully it was important for him to start this match so that by the time the second leg comes around, he's back to his best. At least that's what Ancelotti would be hoping. Mm, Other than that, who else would score? Seriously, like it had to be Mbappe. It had to be the future Real Madrid player to score against them. And again, two games in a row, PSG have scored in the dying minutes of the match. Two games in a row, Mbappe has scored in the dying minutes of the game. So yes, Real Madrid were a little. I think I won't really want to say like park the bus, but yes, they were a little defensive. Maybe they wanted to keep it nil-nil. They wanted to keep it tight, and then take the game to the Bernabeu, and then maybe try to win it there. But yeah, maybe that strategy didn't really work because in the end, yeah, they lost.
Yeah, Messi of all people missed a penalty. So that was something that we did not expect. Another thing was after the match, the mood in Madrid of what we hear is, I mean, obviously it was a loss, but there are two rounds on which they were okay with the result. The first being the red leg is at home, so think that they can still turn it around. And the second point is they were happy with the performance of Mbappe because I think the majority of Madrid are under this belief that he is going there. There have been recent developments. He has been offered close to £1 million per week by PSG. Um, there's also some rumors about Mbappe not being so confident about the move now, especially seeing Madrid's performance here, and he has his head turned by Liverpool. That is something that I read today. So yeah, these two things, and another thing about the round of 16 was now that the away goals do not apply in these fixtures. Rahul, do you think that the away side in the first leg they have somehow their willingness to win the match, in other words, they have maybe lost the incentive to attack in the first leg, knowing that the second leg is at home.
Well, that's what it looks like, to be honest. But at the same time, I don't really understand that logic because uh, it's like at times attack is the best form of defense. So if you're just defending, or if you're just giving the ball to the other team, you are then uh, even under more pressure to concede a goal. So if you don't want to concede a goal, then I guess even then it's not a good strategy, because if you're not gonna play, or if you're not gonna give you 100%, you're not gonna keep the ball, you're not gonna try to score, then that means you're giving the other team even more incentive to score. I understand the strategy, but I'm not really sure, or at least till now, I'm not really sure if these clubs have adopted that strategy, that it's a wise strategy. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I know these are still early days, and it would be a little presumptuous to reach to a conclusion right now. But at least that is what it seemed to me. There was no dearth of attacking play in the next match. Sporting Lisbon against Manchester City. City scoring 5 goals away from home. Again, we are not tooting our own horn, but this is something that we had predicted. We had predicted a lesser score, like actually 2-0 or 3-0, but it was actually 5-0. The point is, City just made sure that this tie is done and dusted in the first round itself. Again, shout out to Bernardo Silva. He has been something else in the past couple of seasons. And yeah, onwards and upwards, march on City. Rahul?
Yeah, like I told you then during our WhatsApp conversation, Guardiola is a cheat code manager. I mean, yeah, not sure what. Like again, like it's a good thing, I guess, if you're a City fan. But then if you're a neutral or if you're not a supporter of City, then you just lose interest in a match like this. To be honest, when you just know what the result is going to be before the match even begins.
As a non-Manchester City supporter, it is irritating to see City, quite frankly. Until unless um, maybe you want City to win, or maybe you are in that zone that it doesn't matter, your team has achieved what it could have or should have. Only then you can appreciate what they do. Otherwise, it's damn irritating watching them play.
Exactly.
Okay, so again, City just makes our job easier analyzing their match. They were perfect, they were outstanding, and well done to them. On Wednesday, we had Inter versus Liverpool, a match that I was actually looking forward to, but two late goals by Liverpool. Now they have a commanding lead in this tie. Um, Again, away goals do not matter, but a 2-0 lead at Anfield is quite a sizable lead to start with. The next round, uh, maybe see, Inter created chances on the face of it, but there were no clear-cut chances as such. You know, it was not as if they were dominating. Liverpool also held back. They made a few substitutions in the second half that changed the game. But again, it it looked as if Liverpool had a couple of gears at least to go. They were still taking it easy, and the only bad side of this fixture for Liverpool was the Diogo Jota injury, and let's see how long it takes to recover. But again, Luis Diaz, great performance, and now the press has already started the murmurs. Maybe he'll replace Sadio Mane in the coming days. I still think Mane has enough in the bank for at least this season. Start of next season might be a different, completely different story altogether. Rahul?
I mean, yeah, I guess again, we have to analyze this game not just as Inter Milan versus Liverpool, I think, but more about Serie A versus Premier League. I guess we've talked about this before as well, that Serie A teams are just so different when they play in domestic competitions and then when they play in Europe. I mean, this was Liverpool's second straight win at the San Siro. When they beat AC Milan, even then they were not even playing their best side. And now, I mean, I understand that Inter Milan were without Nicolo Barella, but then they've got such a big squad that just because they were missing one player, you can't just say that they lost because of that one player. I probably feel like again maybe the inexperience showed a little bit here. Not of the teams, but of the managers. I think obviously Klopp has got so much experience, former winner of the Champions League. But then Inzaghi again, I think with him he is a little inexperienced when it comes to the top European competition. The strategy was, I guess, maybe nice to start maybe with a lot of runners. I could see that they were running their heart out. I guess at least in the first half, they did create a lot of chances. But that's the thing, you when you have to do something like this against Liverpool, you need to balance it out. That maybe make sure you obviously have some runners on the bench as well, so that the runners who are starting, when they start to get tired, you at least have someone to replace them. Maybe that's what happened, which is why they could hold on till 75th minute, but then they just got tired, and yeah, that just played right into Liverpool's hands. And yeah, a 2-0 lead, taking Liverpool taking that lead at Anfield, like I don't, it's almost like it's an insurmountable in my opinion. But yeah, I actually saw a very interesting video that will a Serie A team actually win the Champions League in the next 10 years? And I was like, the answer is no, but I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, okay. 10 years is a long time to predict, but okay. Given the facts we have before us right now, obviously it's a little difficult to predict, that happening. In the other match, Red Bull Salzburg against Bayern Munich. Now, Munich had that unexpected loss over the weekend, and they followed it up with another unconvincing performance away from home. The match ended in a 1-1 draw. Salzburg actually opened the scoring through Adamo, and a late goal by Kingsley Coman. Match ending in a 1-1 draw. Again, two matches is not the sort of data points you would require to come to a conclusion, but the early signs of hiccups are already there. And for Bayern Munich, especially, this is like the worst time to be off form, because the domestic title is a given for them, quite frankly. Their performances are evaluated on the basis of how well they do in the continental competition, and again, it's not the end of the world, a 1-1 draw, but there are issues there, especially in defense, that Nagelsmann has to address, and he has to get it right quickly. Rahul?
Yes, actually, I read a report that Hansi Flick, even Nagelsmann now is a little miffed uh, with the lack of signings that Bayern have made. I mean, obviously, like we talked about earlier, they let go someone like David Alaba and Jerome Boateng, but only signed someone like Upamecano. Automatically, they're short by one defender. And now, when you take a look, Nicolas Zula is leaving on a free to join Dortmund. So they're even going to be like further depleted, especially in one position of central defense. So they would need to sign at least a couple of defenders, in my opinion, especially because I think Upamecano again didn't even start this match. Was at fault uh, in the game against Bochum, and in a way, I won't really talk much about Nicolas Zula because in a way he was at fault for the goal that they conceded here. So yes, he does have a lack of pace, maybe probably because of his big stature. So I'm not really sure if that's such a bad decision, to let him go. But yes, it's all about signing someone to replace him. Like if they keep letting players go and then they don't replace him, then yes, that is on Bayern Munich. But it's a 1-1 draw. So again, it's not the worst result. They're still going to be at Allianz Arena, and yeah, you would expect Bayern to uh, get the job in there, I guess.
Yeah, but from a Bayern point of view, I think their fixture this weekend becomes absolutely crucial. The result, and more than that, maybe the way they play, the performance, um, it will be important for them. Otherwise, once these seeds of doubts are sowed in your minds, the longer they are allowed to persist, the greater the chances of something catastrophic happening. again, this weekend will be interesting as far as Bayern Munich is concerned. Moving on to the Europa League, again, a new format that had some great affairs. Let's start at the new camp. Barcelona against Napoli, a 1-1 draw. Um, again, Napoli's performance to start off with, they were good in bits and parts, but again, this fixation of playing from the back and having those fancy flicks and back heels, they gave the ball away too many times. Ferran Torres had, I think he had 10 shots on goal, and the only one on target was the penalty that he scored. Mm, Koulibaly, the Rock, played so well. Osimhen ran his heart out. Um, again, there was a goal from Zielinski, run, and the first shot was stopped by Destin, and he caught the rebound. So again, something that we had predicted. Napoli played more as a team, but the individual brilliance, the individual talent of Barcelona was there for everyone to see. You can argue that maybe Barcelona should have won this and should have won this handsomely, given the number of chances they created. But again, it just shows that Torres is still not a finished product. Um, there were a couple of chances that he could have scored, but he went for a sliding finish, and again, he could have stayed on his feet. That would have helped him, hit the target and stuff. But 1-1 draw, I think it suits Napoli as far as the tie is concerned with the next match in Naples. Rahul?
Yeah, I think we've got to talk about Aubameyang as well. He started his first game for the club. Yeah, other than that, I think Adama Traore, I think he's been, again, won't say the best player, but he has been decent. I mean, again, we talked about this before. He's already had a couple of assists for Barcelona. He's not had that. So he's not even had a single assist for Wolves in a long time, and already he's got, I think, two. So yeah, I think in a way it's a good thing. I mean, like Barcelona playing the Europa League. Yeah, Xavi was like,
Yeah,
he
it
hates
was
missing the
actually after
Champions League.
18 years. After 18 years, they were playing the Europa League, and there was 73 odd thousand spectators yesterday. So at least they had the crowd support, the audience there to, head them on. Yes, Raf.
Yeah. Again, this is, to be honest, this is a match that probably belongs to the Champions League, but then two teams going for it, and yeah, it made sense in a way. It's a good match. I think entertaining match in my opinion. Uh, the tie is still evenly poised. I think anyone could win it in Naples. Obviously, because it's being played in Naples, so Napoli are obviously the side favorites. But I wouldn't just count Barcelona out at this point in time.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Moving on, Dortmund against Rangers, and this was a surprise, actually a road shot for the Dortmund fans at home, losing 2-4 to Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's team. They actually ran to a 3-0 win. Then there was a goal from Bellingham. Um, Rangers scored again, and finally there was a goal from Guerrero. The defensive frailties of Dortmund were at the fore here. Um, Again, with sheer pace, you can unlock any defense, and Rangers did that away from home, being fearless. It was like a tough competition, with both the sides, at least one of the sides going for it, the less favored one. And the only Dortmund player who had a little bit of spark, wanting to fight, that at least came across to me was Bellingham. But the rest of the team was pretty flat, not knowing what to do. They just wanted the whole, horror show to be as over as soon as possible. And then this again just shows how important Haaland is to this team, to this squad, and why Dortmund was so desperate to tie him down, because they either play him or they get a huge profit out of his sale. So again, the people responsible for buying players, and we have mentioned it like frequently in our podcast, they have to be held accountable. for assembling such a poor team in terms of talent, experience. The star players, one is 21, one is 18. So how do you build a team around them? And now they are like going for Sula, who is, again, in all fairness, a reject of Bayern Munich. So I just hope he does well. But one player is not going to cut the problem. I mean, it's not going to solve the problem here. Um, they need at least two transfer windows where they buy astutely. Rahul?
I mean, yeah, like we're never gonna see Dortmund spend 100 million pounds on a player. So yeah, I'm not even sure if two windows are enough because even if they spend wisely and astutely in two windows, but then Bayern Munich or Leipzig will strengthen even more in those two windows. So the gap will probably stay the same or will at least not reduce by as much as we wanted to reduce. Again, you don't want to say like just because one player was not there that you know they are absolved of all responsibility. I mean, it has to be said something. There has to be something that needs to be said about the coaching staff, the players. Like you said, like you mentioned, Bellingham. Even in his post-match interview, he was like, "We go to Rangers to win," and he was still like, "We're gonna win." That's again, he's already 18, just and already a baller with his mentality. Uh, but yeah, the defensive frailties with Dortmund, I think they conceded like 4 goals just I think a couple of weeks ago uh, against Leverkusen as well at home, and now 4 against Rangers. So Alfredo Morelos, I think, he scored a hat trick, if I'm not wrong. Again, someone, the Colombian winger who was so crucial to Rangers winning the title last season under Gerrard. I think even this season, I think Brighton wanted him, or maybe he was linked with the Premier League club. Uh, so yes, I think he's destined for a move to a bigger club, maybe a Champions League club or maybe a Premier League club. But again, just because Haaland wasn't there, I mean, yeah, like the reason why I'm saying this so much is because before this match started, I think uh, bookies' favorite were actually Dortmund to win the Europa League. So now they're probably going to be out of the competition. So let's see.
Uh, the last I saw, Sevilla were the favorites right now.
So
And West Ham was fourth actually. Dortmund was seventh or eighth. Okay. In the next two matches, Sheriff, who actually gave a great account of themselves in the Champions League, they defeated Sporting Braga 2-0 at home, and Petersburg against Real Betis, who were flying high in the La Liga. Petersburg lost 2-3 at home. So, Rahul, your views, were these results expected?
well, yeah, kind of in a way. At least the Sheriff versus Braga one. I think Sheriff have been like they managed to beat Real Madrid away from home. So if they can win in Santiago Bernabeu, then I'm pretty sure that they can beat Braga at their home ground. So I think it was an okay result. Let's see what happens in the second leg. But I'm actually surprised about the Zenit St. Petersburg versus Real Betis match. Zenit St. Petersburg, who were in a way were decent in a way in the Champions League. I know that they finished third, which is why they are in the Europa League. But then even against Chelsea, I think the 3-all draw that they played out, and they've lost. I think their striker Sardar Asman to Leverkusen, but still they've made 3 or 4 decent signings. So it is a little surprise. Maybe it all came down to who wanted it more. Maybe Betis know that now with Barcelona firing in a way with the signings that they've made, their chances of finishing the top 4 are a little slim. So maybe they're trying to focus a little more on the Europa League campaign.
Yeah. Now we move on to the two Italian clubs who had conflicting fortunes. Atlanta won 2-1 at home against Olympiacos. Lazio lost 2-1 at home against Porto. Oh, sorry, Lazio was away. So, um, uh, I think the Atlanta result was expected, and we did discuss about the fact that they had to take some sort of a lead over to Greece because that stadium is very daunting to play in. And Porto again, 2-1 lead. I think they will be happy with this slender lead. They have something to play for in the next round. And even for Lazio, now they'll be at home, so they'll be looking forward to reverse the fixture, get the advantage back, and move on to the next round. Rahul?
Yeah. So if you talk about the Lazio versus Porto match, I think yeah, it all came down to again the inexperience of the coaches. I personally feel like the whole Sari ball thing, maybe that kind of works when you play in Serie A, but not really sure if that works in the Champions League. So yeah, I kind of predicted that Lazio would lose, and I even now I don't really expect them to like turn it around in the second leg. Um, and Atlanta, yes, like you mentioned, I mean they have been actually missing a few key players, mainly Zapata, but Jim City, the defender, central defender, actually scored a couple of goals, and he was like, maybe I'll play as a striker. So yes, they know what they need to do. This result was even more important because, like you said, it's going to be really hard to get a result in Greece because the fans of Olympiacos are going to make it so hard for Atlanta to get a result there.
Yeah, the only saving grace is that sorry, Atlanta are great travelers, so hoping for an exciting match there. In the last two fixtures, Leipzig drew 2-2 against Sociedad. They actually had to depend on a penalty in the 82nd minute to draw level in this game. And Sevilla had a comfortable 3-1 win against Zagreb. Anthony Martial opening his account in this match. The other scorers were Rakitic and Ocampos. Rahul?
Yeah, I read a very interesting chat about Martial. I think his last 4 games in European competitions have all come in at the end of a half, be it the first half or the second half. So yeah, he does kind of look like, I don't want to jump the gun and say back to his best, but yes, he does look better than what we saw of him at United. Again, maybe I guess for some players it's not about whether they're good or bad. Some players just are not made for the Premier League. Maybe he's just one of those players. Simple. And as soon as they leave the Premier League, they move to a different league. They start showing signs of life again. So I do kind of feel like, I mean, obviously, I don't really think that there's an option or obligation to buy for Sevilla, but maybe if this form of Martial's continues, then yes, they would try to buy him. But then again, the problem is that because they don't really have an obligation or option, the United would hold all the cards now. They'll be like, because he's in such a good form, they would obviously want to get as much money out of Sevilla as possible. Um, Other than that, I think yeah, Leipzig versus Sociedad. I think a little bit of sloppy defending from Leipzig, in my opinion. I was actually hoping to see if Alexander Sørloth will score against his parent club or not. I mean, he didn't. Uh, Even Alexander Isak, I think he's been really poor this season, but didn't really start this match either. So yes, I think Leipzig again, they don't really have the biggest squad in my opinion. So yes, it will be a little hassle. It will be a hassle for them to juggle both the Bundesliga as well as uh, the Europa League campaign, which is what we saw last night. But again, it's a 2-all draw, especially when you take into account there's no away goals rule, so anyone could win. Like, yeah. My only question is like the first goal that Leipzig conceded, I guess. Their central defender, Sociedad central defender, Lenormand, I think. I mean, I'm just surprised with the space that he got. Like, how would you get so much space, against top team? He had all the time in the world to score that goal. That's all I'm a little miffed with. But yeah, I think Dominic Szoboszlai came on as a late second half substitute and made an instant impact. Won that penalty, and then Emil Forsberg scored from the spot. So yeah, an exciting game for neutrals. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. With that, we cover the European competition. Now, there were two matches in domestic leagues. First, we had Manchester United at home against Brighton. Brighton had so many chances. They were playing so well in the first half, but they could not capitalize on it. They could not score. United displaying more of the same form. In the second half, however, Ronaldo turned up. Great goal by him. And that was immediately followed by a red card to Luis Dunk. He was deemed to be the last man. After VAR review, he was red carded. And I think from there it was pretty smooth sailing for United. They brought a certain goal deep into extra time. Fernandes scored in that one. So United breaking their uh, record of draws for the past so many matches. They actually won, and now I think they are in the fourth position in the league. So, anything you'd like to add here, Rahul?
I think a couple of things. So yeah, Ronaldo, he actually broke his own goal scoring drought. So yeah, I think he hadn't really scored in 5 or 6 matches. So he finally scored, got on the score sheet. Other than that, obviously the red card helped. Not gonna say deny that it didn't. But then the interesting thing or the news that's coming out is that both Maguire and Ronaldo they've had a chat with Rangnick, and Ronaldo is like, remove this guy as the captain and make me the captain. And there are some very strong rumors of this coming out. Otherwise, I mean, if it was just like one tabloid or one article, I would be like, maybe it's all rumors. But then there are very strong rumors of this happening. So let's see. I'm not really sure if that's just the right move. I'm not sure if it's not the right move because obviously Maguire as the captain is like not the right idea. But then if Ronaldo is someone who's going to leave at the end of the season, in that case, is it actually a good idea to make Ronaldo the captain? I'm not saying that Maguire should not be removed as captain, but then if he is removed as captain, maybe it should actually be someone like Bruno Fernandes for that matter. I'm just putting out a name for
Yeah,
all
yeah.
like
Even David De Gea.
David De Gea. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I read this. It was sort of like it's me, either him or me. And another piece of rumor that has caught my eye was Ronaldo is looking at PSG as a possible destination in the summer. So let's see how this pans out. Definitely, I don't think he'll be happy with his season at Man United. And whether he admits it or not, at least in my opinion, he has been a catalyst in a lot of issues that United have faced on top of what they already had. So yeah, that's about United. On Wednesday we had Atletico Madrid against bottom side Levante, and both of us predicted they would win. Unfortunately, they did not. I mean, unfortunate for the team. They actually lost 1-0 at home, and I mean, if this is not the breaking point, I don't know what is. And I mean, you have again. They had those miraculous escapes, and I mean, we were always on. To be on the safer side, we were always like, let's wait and watch. Let's wait and watch, because the fact that you have to make a comeback means you were down. And there have been more matches where they were down and then they were kept there. They actually lost the match or drew a match they should have won. And the comeback was only in 2 matches. And again, I think this time the crowd also reacted a little bit after the result with the performance and stuff. And I really don't know where Atletico Madrid go from here. The only saving grace for them is like United are also in the same, deep trouble that they are in, but then they don't have Ronaldo, the man who turns up, in on big rotations. So that is a fixture maybe worth seeing. Maybe it will be a snooze fest. Not really sure, but both the teams, and especially Atletico now, because at least at the end of the day, United has the financial muscle to try and solve the issues. But Atletico, again, I think we started saying it right from when we started this podcast. Maybe it's time to freshen up things with a new coach. Rahul?
Yeah, I think it's gotten to the point of insanity now. Like we've already talked about this so many times. We can't keep on harping the same horn, I guess. So yeah, it is time for like something or someone's got to give. It's as simple as that. It's not really working clearly. That's all I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even after such disastrous performances, they were in the reckoning for top four, and now this really dents their hopes because Betis, they have been playing well, and in order to put pressure on them, Madrid had to win, but unfortunately they did not. So let's see what happens. There are quite a number of teams in Europe
Yeah,
which are
uh,
struggling.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Maybe if they lose to United and then they only have, let's say, the league to focus on, and even then, maybe for some reason their form doesn't improve in the league, maybe then they will look to take some action, or maybe I guess for Atletico it's okay. Maybe they'll just see what they can do till the end of the season. Again, like in our eyes, the change should have been made by now. But that's the thing, like with Atletico as a club, we don't really know when they will, you know, look to make or take any actions.
Yeah, just one last point here. When things start going bad, it kind of has a snowball effect. Like we just discussed the captaincy issue. When has the captain been important in a football team? But somehow it is an issue right now at Manchester United. So we don't know the level of discontent amongst the players and the coaching staff. So bad results. I mean, it is not only the performance that you have to take care of. There are so many other aspects that suddenly become an issue, and all that needs time to resolve. Again, we all know that Simeone is very strong-headed, if I can use that word, individual, and he has his own philosophy. And again, in the past, Atletico Madrid were known for their defensive prowess. Now that is gone, and they wanted to play a more freestyle, I mean, attacking play and all that stuff. But somehow that has not been the case in this season with Griezmann and Suarez and the Portuguese guy,
So Felix,
João Felix. Yeah, so I mean, so many players at their disposal. So really don't know where they go from here. Sometimes the most difficult thing is the right thing, and you need a little bit of conviction to go ahead with it. Let's see. Of course, they're not going to change the coach in the middle of the season, but let's see how bad it gets before they do something about it. Um, I think having said that, we come to the end of the review podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. We'll be back with our preview episode of the weekend matches soon. Bye bye and take care.
all right, guys.